Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the role of solution providers when choosing and implementing new innovations, brought to you by LP Magazine. My name is Ben Skidmore with LP Magazine, and I'll be one of your hosts today. I'm here today with Jack Britton, our editorial director at LP Magazine. How are you doing, Jack?
Great, Ben. Hey, everyone.
We're also joined today by four of LPM's great partners. All of these individuals serve on the magazine's vendor advisory board. And as I introduce them, I'm going to have each of them tell us a little bit more about who they are, who they work for, and what their role is with their company. So I'll go ladies first, and I'll start with you, Chris.
Hi, how are you? My name is Chris Vesey. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Accounts at Protos Security. I have been with Protos for about 8 years now. Previously with a direct competitor of theirs for 12. So my whole career has been in the security guard business. So
awesome. I'm glad you're here, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Tom Meehan over at Control Tech.
Oh, hello, everybody. Tom Meehan. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Control Tech. My role at the company is to really oversee the products and solutions portfolio. I've been with Control Tech about 5 years. Prior to that, I spent 22 years in retail asset protection. Excited to be here with the group. It's good to see everybody.
Glad to have you here. All right, next we've got Dave over at LVT.
Thanks, Ben. David Studdard here with LiveView Technologies. I am the Chief Revenue Officer, also one of the founding partners. Prior to LiveView Technologies, spent some time overseas with the State Department, and 4 kids, love to ski. Happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for taking time. And last but not least, we've got Rhett Asher.
Hey, Ben, thanks for inviting me. My name is Rhett Asher. I'm the Vice President of Business Development, Marketing, and Community Partnerships for Alto USA. And basically, Alto is a company that helps reduce business disruptions in the retail environment, making employees and customers feel safer in their stores. I've been here about 6 months. Prior to that, I was with Think LP and Control Tech. And prior to that, I spent a number of years in the trade association world.
Great. Glad you're here as well. All right. I'm going to turn the time over to Jack. Jack will be leading this discussion in regards to innovation. So Jack, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Ben. When we talk about innovation, our thoughts have to go beyond just any given product or technology. And it has to reach into the creative processes that become part of putting the innovation together, releasing it as a product, and then being able to implement it with our retail partners out there. And what we really wanted to talk about with everybody today is the process that you all have to go through with your individual products, innovations, companies. We realize that innovation has to go well beyond just things like technologies. It also involves services, different things that we all get involved in to help the loss prevention industry. And our first question is going to be, when exploring new innovations, what questions do you feel are most important for the loss prevention leaders to ask of their solution providers when they're looking at those innovations? We'll go ahead and start again with Chris. Chris, what do you think?
So for me, it's a couple different questions. How is this problem going? What is this problem going to solve? Will I have time to, what is the amount of time and energy that's going to be spent on this problem? How much time do I have to manage it? And then, what is the reduction in shrink, provided by the innovation? Is it worth the cost of doing it? So.
Yeah, I think you'll probably hear some repetition is, I would often say it's just to get a little understanding of where this has been adopted before. Is it new? When we talk about innovation, I think we automatically think, gadget or technology, but sometimes it's just a different way to implement it. So, where success came from. I think it's a very two-way street conversation also, where the solution provider really needs to make sure they understand the problem that's trying to solve. And to go to what Chris said is, once they understand it, okay, help each other understand where the ROI is. And I think the other thing I would say is really to get to know not at a personal level, but just how the innovation process works at an organization when asked questions of how products developed, how partnerships are formed with each other.
And I do think it's actually a good thing if some of this is repetitive. I think that that's a great thing. If we're all kind of voicing the same things, it sends that message as well. So, Dave, what do you think?
You know, Jack, Chris and Tom both made great comments about what are we really solving for. I think that's paramount, right? What is the issue we're trying to solve for? I think to add on to that, we're also innovators in our own worlds, right? We're creating technologies and services, and a lot of times we duplicate some of that process. So I think the question of how does this new innovation fit into whatever that broader innovation toolbox is, right? The IoT world and services and technology, a lot of times we're going to find force multipliers. So I think asking the question, as I look at new technologies, how does that specific technologies either interact or integrate with the existing tool set that I currently use? And how do we begin to take additional data sets that make us go further, right? We're really great siloed. I think a lot of us, we get really kind of monolithic in the way we approach things, but as we look at the broader space, we get a lot better because there's some great technologies, great companies that help us become better. So I think asking some of those questions help.
You know, Rhett, during the course of your career, you've been involved with some a wide range of different types of innovations, different types of products, different types of services. What do you think? What can you add that might be useful here for our practitioners to learn from today's conversation?
Sure. Listen, and I agree with all my colleagues here on the call. I think they all make great points. You know, some of the best conversations that I've had with LP leaders really revolve around trying to understand, you know, their pain, right? And their pain points, what challenges them every day. I read an article not too long ago that said there's not a whole lot of innovation going on anymore. It's really just making things that have already been invented better, right? So the innovation is not really coming up with something that's completely new. It's taking stuff that's already been in place and then finding a way to fine tune it or make it better. But I really think that as long as you understand those pain points from your potential, client, then you can really begin to solve the problems. And as Dave said, I think there's is this solution long-term or short-term? Am I going to have to look for a new solution in 2 years, or is this an innovation or a solution that will stand the test of time, so to speak, and develop with me? So I think there's a couple of things there that are super important. Is this going to last? And Dave made another good point. I know Dave and I were in a meeting not too long ago where we talked about integration between vendors, right? And so will this solution or innovation play nicely and enhance a product or service that's already in place with this company? So I think it's that whole collaborative approach as a true partner that makes the most sense.
How would you see the difference between a product and a service? I mean, you've handled both.
Yeah, I mean, a product is something obviously that you've got to continue to improve on or adapt from a technology standpoint. And we all know technology is moving very quickly. In the environment that I'm in now, one of the kind of cool things about it is that it's more of a people solution, and people are a little bit easier and quicker to adapt maybe than a technology. And so you're right, I've seen both sides and it's super interesting, but I think in both cases, as long as you're listening to the client, you're paying attention to what's going on in the industry or around you, I think the best thing you can do is have conversations like this. I've learned stuff from Tom, I've learned stuff from Chris and Dave. Even recently, we've known each other not as long, so to speak, but I've learned a lot just from the interaction with my peers.
As the solution provider, what are some of the primary considerations that are part of the decision-making process when you're developing a new product or innovation? David, let's start with you this time.
And we can always go back to our fundamental, the values of the company. Our mission statement is to make the world a safer and more secure place. As we look at innovations, new technologies, does it answer that, right? Are we really striving to make the world a safer and more secure place? So, and we're kind of a different animal in the fact that we're based kind of on a platform where we look at a lot of different new technologies, innovations, different analytics, gunshot detections, license plate readers, you really name it. So there's a lot of really best in class solutions out there. So we go through the process of finding those, and really our number one question that we ask is, if we implemented this new technology, will it make our customers, our partners, their communities more safe and more secure? I think going back to our core value sets really kind of, they're always the questions to ask, right? Why are we doing this? How are we doing this? Is it answering the core fundamental things that we show up every day at work to do? And a lot of times, your last question about software versus hardware, hardware versus a service. Everything is a service, even our hardware components, right? Because you've got to be able to maintain that stuff and build those relationships. The human element is such a big deal. So we ask those fundamental questions when we look at new innovations. Are we doing what we set out to do? And that's to make the world a more safe and secure place.
Tom, you've always been more on the technology side. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this is what I do every day here, and have for years here. And then in my prior role, that was the opposite, right? Trying to figure out what was out there. The first thing I'd say is that, it's a problem because if there's a problem out there, it's a problem because there isn't necessarily a solution yet. So really understanding at a core value what the issue is, and then a methodology for solution development. Product and solution software, I kind of bundle them the same at this point. And it's really getting to the core, understanding what the actual challenges are at the granular level, and then building the product around that. So, I talk a lot and have in my past too about the design thinking methodology of, getting away from the old days of a bunch of engineers in a room creating a product, and getting into truly understanding what does the problem require to get there. And a lot of listening, a lot of back and forth conversation with people that are on this call, with other solution providers, with customers, everybody really talking, because today the problems generally are going to require integration. They're generally going to require partnerships that are different. So if I picked one core thing, it's really making sure you understand the problem. And it usually isn't just, I need to reduce shrink, or I need to do this. I need to do that, be able to get it to work with this, be able to get it adopted in multiple locations, be able to do all of these things. So really understanding the core start, and listening, not assuming that, oh, I've seen this before, because I think that's the easy thing to go with if you've been in the industry. But as it evolves, I think solutions evolve with it.
Chris, with what you do, it's a little bit different, but there is innovation that comes into play, and change and an evolution that happens with what you do.
I think for us, it's the matter of taking something that has always had a stigma to it, and thinking differently, making sure that everyone thinks differently about security officers. Everyone thinks the security officers should be doing something that they aren't doing. So it's, how do we set that standard for our client, but also how do we get them to think differently about the security officers that are at their location? How do we make sure that not only do we have that physical presence of the security officer, but our technology, can it be shared across any stakeholder? The technology piece that we're trying to bring to the table, not only could loss prevention use it, but could invoicing use it, could budgeting use it, could, what does it bring to the table for someone else at their company, so that, that price or, could be shared across all those budgets, instead of it's just one department's budgets that has to handle that. So, again, it's just thinking differently. There are so many solution providers out there, but it's the solution provider that thinks differently, wants to bring something different to the table and not just do the same thing over and over. That's what we're trying to bring to that table. So.
Rhett, with what you're doing today, it's very innovative to the point that it's different than a lot of companies have handled things before. How has that been to roll out? How do you communicate those things with your practitioner partners?
Yeah, I think all three of Chris, Tom, and David said things that are super relevant. I think, ability to integrate, right, and work seamlessly with other products or vendors. I think safety, right? Right now, it seems like every meeting we're having is not necessarily about shrink. It's about store safety, the safety of their customers and their employees and the shopping experience. And so I really think that as we are looking at the ways we can help, and again, we're a people solution, not unlike Chris's solution. I really feel that decision-making process is all of those things. Does this make our stores safer? Is it something that'll stand the test of time, within reason? Is it cost effective? I mean, all these things that they have to think about. But I think at the end of the day, the biggest decision needs to be around, will this integrate with other vendors and together make this a more safe and secure environment for our shoppers and our employees?
So Rhett, with your comment about innovating with partners, how crucial is it to understand the playing field in our industry? Our industry is so big, but yet fairly small. I mean, how important as a solution provider is it to know the other technologies and solutions that are out there that may compete or play well with your solution?
I think that's a great question. And I think, these type of forums, and when I say these, I'm talking about the events that the magazine puts on, LP Foundation puts on, various trade associations, the conferences that we're all familiar with. And even to a point, again, something that David and I attended not too long ago was a meeting of solution providers getting together and looking for ways they could play nicely. So I think it's super important to understand the playing field. I think as much in our world as we need to know about the problems that our clients are having or our prospects are having, we need to understand what else is out there. Because if we do, and we thoroughly understand the company, and David used a great word earlier, it was kind of the mission and the culture of the company, right? I think you want to partner and understand like companies like yourself, right? People that at the end of the day share your same goal, mission, and frankly have a similar approach to the way you deal with human life and people. And so I just think it's super. I think, Ben, you make a great point. It's super important to understand the playing field, to understand what other vendors do, and then take that to the next level and say, which other companies or people can I partner with to make our solutions even better?
I completely agree with everything that Rhett said. One other thing that I just wanted to add is, we're always at trade shows, always. I spend as much time on my trade show floor visiting with other vendors and seeing their products and their solutions as I do talking to our clients. I mean, to me, I know the forums, everything like that, but going to a trade show and actually seeing other providers' demos and walking through, like, how do I fit into this? I mean, I spend just as much time at a trade show there learning about other people's products and technologies than I do visiting my clients too. So.
Yeah, and I would just say we're in a hyper-connected world today, and we know that this is part of the business. And sometimes you might have to step outside of your comfort zone because you are going to partner with someone that might compete with you in one line, but isn't in another. And we're unique. The industry, like Ben, it's a big industry, but everybody really does know everybody. And if you're not taking advantage of that, and really spending time saying, we have mutual customers that have a problem, how do we work together, to solve it? It's a miss altogether. And from the other side of the fence, as a former retailer, retailers need to push that just as well. They need to say, like, you guys have to figure it out for me. And I think I see a big movement in the last few years where that's happening. but that is the future, right? We know that there isn't a one size fits all, that things have to be connected and work together.
Okay, everyone, we're going to force you to be a little self-reflective on this last question here. We'd like to have you describe what you believe the solution provider's role should be between the time the product or innovation is actually developed up to and including how it's implemented in the field. What do you think the role of the solution provider should be in that respect? Tom, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, I think this is all about partnerships, right? When you're thinking a solution partner and retail or any, regardless of what it is, it's about approaching it as you're doing it together. And it through the inception to the rollout and the aftercare. Really, when I look at this, it's about the roadmap for success where you're aligned together, and it is not a client, company relationship, but it's a partnership, and understanding that there might be bumps in the road, but they can rely on you as a solution provider at its core, and that they know that after the implementation that it could be as granular as helping them get data, but also that you're in it for the long haul. I think today, and I felt this way in my past too, that Chris and I have known each other for a really long time, and it was the partnership was about, I trust that person, they trust me, we're going to figure out how to solve it together.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. I think the days of selling something and walking away are over. I just don't think that works anymore. So I would kind of say, I think we as solution providers need to be involved from, beginning to end, and ongoing relationship with our clients, because as we've talked about this entire call, things change pretty quickly. And I think we have to, again, I think solution provider, vendor, those words are out the window. If you are not partners with the company you're doing business with, then again, you've already lost, you're already behind. And so I do believe that we as solution providers should be helping to ensure that what we're doing is up to date and continues to move forward and is relevant. And then we ought to make sure that all the way through the implementation that it works, or that it's working well, it's providing the benefit that we said it would, and that we continue to monitor it. So I think it's an ongoing partnership between clients and partners like us.
Not much to add. This is we're really in the business of people. Between the innovation side and the implementation side, it's all about communication. And from implementation on through execution and wherever that partnership takes you, you've got to have these open lines of communication and know people at their fundamentals, their spot, right? But I think you're right. I think Rhett nailed it. We're not selling widgets and gads. It's just, we're selling solutions that make a big difference. This is one thing I've learned being in the security space is, regardless of where, where we're selling into, chances are my mom or people I love either shop there or go there, or so we're out making a difference in the community. And maybe it's just a little piece, but those little pieces, they add up as you aggregate all of our different talents and technologies and innovations. So it's the people business, and how do we communicate and communicate better?
One thing I would just add is education, educating, at all of their levels on what we do, how we do it. What is this product bringing to the table? Just making sure that everyone knows how to use it, even during the trial periods, between time we create it to the time of implementation, having someone test it and break it. I mean, I think that's the best piece of, we all know that a 2-year-old can program my phone better than anybody else. So, having someone that's not involved in the process of what we're doing, look at it, test it, play with it, see if they can break it, because if they can, someone else can, and maybe they don't understand it, because it always takes an outside opinion to look at something that we're creating to say, because we're so close to it, it might not be what someone else needs. We might think it is, but if we're not getting that outside opinion, sometimes it's just what we think is working isn't working. So,
well, let's kind of expand on that a little bit. The whole education piece, just while we're here. Do you think that there's more that solution provider partners, Rhett, can do to help roll the program out and get involved in education. And as the practitioner partners get involved, what should they be asking you about that? What role do you think that you can play to add that extra value?
Well, I think there are a lot of partners like us out there doing various things. I think it starts with exactly what Chris said, is making sure that everybody from top to bottom in the organization understands the industry, is educated on what the job is, what the problem is they're solving. Obviously, the Loss Prevention Foundation's certifications are kind of the industry standard now, right? And I know in our company, we have asked every single employee, from our field people, through our operations managers, all the way up through our, finance and regional people, to make sure that everyone is at least LPQ. And then in addition, like many other partners, we share those educational opportunities with our clients and with their teams, again, as a partner, to kind of take some of the load off of them having the cost or the opportunity to provide that education. We as partners can get in there and help educate. So I really think that, again, we're looking at each other as partners through this thing. And I think we both owe it to each other, meaning client and partner, to share the journey. And so as long as that's kind of the case, then I think, again, you're showing your colors as a true partner.
Yeah, I think education for me and awareness in the industry is paramount. And I think Rat mentioned it a couple of times, just is, how do you help, people participate, let them know what's out there, introduce them to other people that they may not know that are having similar problems. Webinars like this, getting involved, reading. We're in this really unique scenario of, when I started, even, 25 years ago, there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't all these things. There's endless information out there. So helping people, sometimes we were just saying, did you see this? Did you hear this? Hey, have you ever asked Ben? Have you ever talked to Red about it? Have you ever talked to Chris and anybody about this? Because I think they may have a solution. I think that's the key. And I kind of harp on this a lot, of that we are, again, that small industry where the reality is, out of this group, there's probably not something we haven't heard where we couldn't refer to an article, refer to someone that actually is experiencing it, from every gamut, from, how to do an education prospect, an event that occurred in a location that someone's never experienced. I think it really is about just having that partnership mentality of, hey, I don't have anything like this, but I know someone that does, or I know a retailer that experienced the exact same thing. You should talk to them. You should really do that. So for me, that's probably the biggest role of a solution partner today, is how do you educate people that, hey, maybe I'm not the person that can help you, but let me help you find out who it is, because it's a partnership. And that's that long-standing back and forth. And as the industry is growing, there are a lot of new people that aren't aware of all of the things that are out there. So it's how do you educate them and get them involved in the LPF, the magazine, all of the associations, and also the networking, right? How do you, hey, you should talk to so-and-so, just to talk to them. I think that's probably one of the most important things we're talking about today.
David, if you looked at all of your solution provider partners out there, I watch you all interact when we're at the different shows and so forth. I'm very well aware of the conversations that you have with our different practitioner partners out there. If you look at the relationship that we have between the solution provider partners that we have in our industry, can you tell us a little bit more about that? How much do you rely on each other?
More than you know, Jack. I think, especially in our company, none of us come from security. We started this company in my partner's garage because we thought it'd be cool to stream video from a construction site, not knowing anything about the space. So those relationships, and even back to the education piece, they're everything to us. We've learned everything that we, our goal is to become thought leaders in our space as we move further into rapid deployment security and those solutions. But we got here because of those relationships, because of the people who've built these amazing careers, who've forgotten more than we'll ever know, were willing to share and help us come up to speed on really what the industry needs. And without that, without those relationships between vendors and solution providers and the educational opportunities between symposiums, the magazine, you pick it, it has been invaluable to us in our career paths, which again speaks back to I think our communities are safer because of it.
Okay, we started with ladies first, and we're going to end with Chris. What do you think?
So I completely agree here. Dave, definitely, I 100% agree with you. Partnerships are everything. Our relationships are everything that we have in this industry. It's what we base our reputations on. I know anybody on this call that I can call at any time to get a referral, to throw an idea at, to just talk about a solution. If I have a problem, I have no problem reaching out to Tom or Red or Dave and just saying, hey, I need some help here. I need to think through this. Help me think a little bit differently. Our partnership with LiveView happened because of relationships in our industry. We partner with LiveView every single day. So, that relationship is invaluable to us. So it is that piece of the pie that I think everyone forgets sometimes. Everyone thinks we're in this huge industry. I don't think of our industry as that big. I think of, we're just people in it, and more my relationships become friendships. So, I rely on those every single day.
We're all in this together, right?
We are.
Okay, everyone, that's really about all the time that we have for today. We really appreciate all of you coming on and have this conversation with us today. We also want to throw a special thanks to everybody watching. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your attention. We want you to be safe out there and have a great day.